Hi class. This week for our presentation, um, mine is on my paper of the Boeing 737 MAX 8, Catastrophic Nightmare of Production by me, William Vaughan-Jones. So this presentation is a modified presentation off of my paper, giving you the highlights and mainly the points of the paper and what I'm trying to get across. So Boeing is the world's largest aerospace firm. They build military and commercial aircraft for agencies or airlines across the globe. Now, Boeing has seen their reputation deteriorate after their 737 MAX 8 aircraft was involved in the two crashes, which most of you know it has been in the news in the past year. The crashes, the Lion Air Flight 610 and the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, sparked a global backlash for the company and has damaged their credibility quite significantly. Now, Boeing's aircraft, they have a history of developing aircraft. Like many of you know, Boeing has created the 787 Dreamliner, the 757, the 747, the 727, the 737, etc. Their 737 MAX series project was to be a direct competitor with the Airbus 320 series, which was a main competitor in the narrow-body single-aisle passenger jets. The 737 MAX series was supposed to be the next great Boeing aircraft to be released. It had broken numerous records for the most ordered aircraft in the company's history. What made it so appealing for companies was that it was a single-aisle jet that had numerous features such as very efficient engines, lower costs for fuel burn and operation costs such as maintenance, and the longer range that the jet had through fuel consumption and how the engines would burn the fuel, aerodynamics, so on and so forth. Now, what affected the Boeing MAX 8 were the two crashes. Like many of you know, two crashes, the Lion Air Flight 610 and the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. Both were two crashes that resulted in the deaths of everyone on board, which totaled 346 people. The determining factor was determined to be the MCAS system, which was a feature that was put into Boeing MAX 8 aircraft without the knowledge of many airlines and without proper testing by the FAA. The MCAS system was a system that monitored the angle of attack of the aircraft. The angle of attack aircraft is very important when it comes to determining when an aircraft will stall. So this system was put in to prevent the aircraft, the 737 MAX 8, MAX 9, or MAX 10 from stalling, and it would come online, which basically would push the nose down, pitch the nose down, which would decrease its angle of attack, and resulting in the aircraft moving farther away from the stall margin. The system was determined to cause both the accidents as the aircraft was pushed nose down, eventually hitting the Java Sea in the Lion Air crash, and the African planes in the Ethiopian Airlines 302 crash. They both come on prematurely after additional equipment on the aircraft. The angle of attack indicators gave false readings to the MCAS system, which in turn turned it online and pushed the aircraft down. Boeing, they failed to inform the airline customers and the FAA of the issue months prior to the crashes. What this means is they not only failed to tell them that there was an issue involved to the airlines, but they also failed to tell the FAA that this might be a airworthiness factor when determining if this is a safety of flight issue. Additionally, without telling the airlines of this issue, the airlines are unable to train the pilots of this issue if it was to happen in flight, which was seen in the Lion Air and the Ethiopian Airlines flight crashes, where the pilots simply were not trained to disengage the MCAS system and to get out of the upset. The aftermath of the crashes, Boeing It was determined they failed to disclose the issue to the airlines and the FAA. If they had, it probably would have grounded the aircraft and affected airline it would have grounded the aircraft and would have affected the airline operations of the airlines who were operating the aircraft. The MAX series was grounded, and currently to this day it still remains grounded. Boeing and the FAA were jointly found to be responsible due to the safety of the aircraft and the proper documentation and the testing of the aircraft. It was determined that it was not done up to standards and that the FAA had actually let the company, Boeing, do a lot of the testing under their own supervision. Numerous airlines that operated the MAX 8 aircraft, as many of you know, Southwestern American, very large American-based U.S. airlines, were greatly affected as these airlines had many of these aircraft in their fleet. When the fleet was grounded, the company had less airplanes to fly passengers around, which greatly upset their route structure, canceled and delayed numerous flights, and resulted in millions of dollars in lost revenue for both of these companies, and currently still results in millions of lost revenue for these companies. What did Boeing do about it financially? Well, financially, Boeing, after the crashes and after a few months of being in the media, they had pledged $1 million to the victims of the crashes. They're also projected to lose roughly $10 billion by the year's end, which will be approximately 60% of their projected profits. And the stock price has fallen significantly. What Boeing could have done to prevent this issue and this tarnishing of their reputation? Firstly, they could have immediately communicated with the FAA and the airlines as soon as the issue was detected. This would have been the smart move. This would have been the move that would have resulted in 346 people still having their lives today. It would have prevented both the crashes, and it would have prevented a global grounding of the aircraft. Not only would have this have saved Boeing's reputation, but this would also have prevented them from having to make public apologies to the airlines that they do business with, for the public and the passengers that fly on the planes, and it wouldn't have discredited Boeing for years to come when they are now developing aircraft and customers are going to be hesitant of flying on them, and airlines are going to be hesitant of having them in their fleets after their brand, the Boeing brand, has really lost a lot of credibility. These are the references. Again, this is a snapshot of my paper, of the class term paper, and this is the general idea, and I think we all can agree that this issue was preventable if Boeing had acted appropriately in the first place. Thank you for watching my presentation.